What is happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo is here. I'm Bob Wankel. It's Friday, August 29th. Phillies coming off of a terrific, fantastic, all is well 19-4 victory over the Atlanta Braves last night. And I have pennant fever. I can feel October in the air, Anthony, as I went out to get coffee this morning. It feels like Phillies playoff baseball. Everything is awesome. Kyle Schwarber hit 4 home runs. I'm juiced up. I actually might take off the second to last week and last week of October because I have my parade plans all charted out this morning. Anthony, I got to tell you, this is going to be a fun one today because I try to check myself. Like, you know how people, they have takes and then they'd rather the takes be right than actually see the thing happen for the greater good?
Of course, we're on the Joy Media Network.
Right. And so I want this team to win. Last night was awesome. I hope that what I suspect in my gut and which I'm going to bring to the show today proves to be horrendously wrong. Wrong in the ways that I am often wrong almost 20 minutes after I tweet something or text you something, which we'll talk about in a minute. But there is nothing that happened last night that makes me feel even a little bit better about this team after this week. And you can call it an overreaction. The math is the math. The Mets went back to being the Mets last night, 5-game lead in the division. All good. I get it. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to win their 93 games. Like I said 5 months ago, I believe all that. I don't think this team has a shot in hell at winning the World Series, like a real shot. And I don't want to do that because, like, mathematically speaking, they have like a 10% chance. So saying that and it plays out that they do, that doesn't make me a genius. I'm saying the thing that is most likely to occur, and I realize that. But I'm so beyond agitated with this team right now. And even what I saw last night, there's like part of me that's like, okay, cool, great. Like the Schwarber thing aside, that's awesome. That's a different conversation. The rest of these guys, like, give me a break. That's how I feel this morning.
David Waitman says you were wrong about the resurgence of Max Kepler with a laughing
I was wrong
emoji.
about the resurgence of Max Kepler. I mean, seriously. So that's where I'm starting today. Like, I want to acknowledge what happened last night being spectacular. And the Schwarber thing is just, it's awesome. It was an awesome moment. If you can't enjoy that, then like don't watch baseball. But I'm removing Schwarber's night from the rest of it. The rest of it agitates me, if nothing else, actually.
Look, I get it, right? And we talked about this last week, and they could get swept by any other team, and it wouldn't bother people as much as it bothered people this week that they got swept by the Mets. Because it's the Mets. Because it's your division rival, right? Like that sticks in the craw of people a lot more because of who the opponent is. Did they let the Mets back in the race a little bit? Yeah, they did. They could have buried them. Instead, they basically allowed the Mets to feel comfortable about making the playoffs because going into the series, the Mets only had a 2-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds
and then
for the last wild card spot.
LA and played the Dodgers and got pummeled.
The Reds got pummeled. The Mets swept the Phillies, and so like. To me, that race is practically over. So the Mets are going to get in, right? The Mets are going to probably be the number 6 seed in the playoffs. And so now what the Phillies have done, and what's more damning about their inability to win anything up in New York is the Phillies are now in a foot race with the Dodgers for a bye, where they had a 2.5-game lead on the bye going into that series. And now they're tied with the Dodgers. Right now, the Phillies have the tiebreaker, 3 games still to play out in L.A., which, by the way, I'll be there, which is going to be an interesting trip. Since this year, Bob, I should point this out, and this is people are going to hate me for this, but I've covered 10 road games this year.
Well, I know you're in Pittsburgh, and I know you were there this week.
I covered 10 road games this year. The first one was opening day in Washington. They won that game.
Yeah.
Okay.
They overcame the shadows.
Yeah, great. It was a good start. The 9 since have been 3 against the Mets in April, 3 against the Pirates in Pittsburgh, 3 against the Mets this week.
So the Phillies are 28 games over 500 in non-road games covered by Anthony Sanfilippo this season. Quick math. 1-9.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how bad that they've been.
They probably
but
see
no,
you in a clubhouse pregame and roll their eyes and go,
you're
Christ.
like, oh, what's this guy doing here? Right. I'm going to be out in LA. Right. That ought to be fun. Anyway. So yeah, like this is that's what the real takeaway for me is. Like, yeah, they're in their own heads. Everything about New York was
Well, by the way, if they don't get the bye, who are they going to play in the playoffs?
The Mets, but it'll be in Philly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the difference. And the Phillies are 22 games over 500 at home this year. Like there's a difference. Again, there's a difference of playing in Philly versus playing up there.
So
look, they're in their own heads in New York, right? They certainly were. You could see it in their eyes. You could see it in the way that they played. They played a completely different style of baseball game against that Mets team. The Mets dictated the way the game was being played, the pace of the game, everything. And the Phillies just got sucked into it. And as they have, 10 straight times up there. So, like, that's a problem. But it's not. But it's a Phillies problem versus the Mets in Citi Field type thing, not this is a Phillies problem in general. So like that's why I think when I won't say you're overreacting because no, but I'm not, because it's an issue against that team in that ballpark. There's no doubt about it. I don't think that there's an issue against that team specifically because you see what the Mets are 10 games under 500 on the road. They stink on the road. And so, like, it's bring them to Philly. It's
the Mets have been one of the worst teams in the National League, other than the 3 games that they played the Phillies. I mean, I believe that the Mets aren't that good. I believe the Phillies are better than them, despite what I watched this week and have watched there earlier in the season and watched there last October. Like, I can separate those things, but you know what I really think, honestly, and I know it's a current indictment of the sport. Phillies are right there for a bye in the National League. You watch the other teams. If you focus on the other teams on a nightly basis, you see all their flaws and deficiencies exposed. I get it. We've had this conversation numerous times this season. But when I watch the Mets and Phillies play, I just say these teams aren't that good. Like, neither of these teams are that good. You say that it's a Mets problem and a Citi Field problem. I obviously would acknowledge there's truth in that. But at some point, when you know what the talking, like as an athlete or as a team, when you know what the narrative is, like the talking points are, and you know everybody wants to see something a little bit different from you and to man up or sack up or bear down or call it whatever you want, and then you keep getting the same result over and over and over again, while I do agree that it's sort of like restrictive to the environment, doesn't that say something about like the mental makeup of a team that like they can't figure it out, that they do get spooked by the Mets, that they do get spooked up there? Like, I know they played fairly good baseball this year. Like, it's been overall pretty good. I used the word middling last night over the last 3 months. After last night, they're 6 games over since June 1. It's been like fine. I don't think the Phillies suck. I don't think blow it up. Like, I'm not there, but like, I just don't. Like, I used to credit this team's like balls and its moxie, and like they had that. Now I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, it is a little bit different feel than what it was in the past. Like there is certainly a different feel with this team, and it's hard to put your finger on it because there are some nights when they come out and they do stuff like they did last night and put up 20 hits. And I mean, that's the third time in
the last 10 games they've had 20 hits.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? That happens.
I mean, if you go back to the last time we talked, 4 games where this lifeless offense, they suck, they can't do anything. This is why like stats can be deceptive, but they're scoring 7 runs a game this week since Monday.
Yeah.
Now you're like, what's there to hate? They hit 7 home runs last night. I tweeted the stat. I know, like, I actually thought it was like crazy and it didn't really catch fire or whatever. I'm just gonna go back to this though. Like you go, and I pointed it out to you in the middle of the series, but you go back now over the last whatever it's been 8 games since they started the NLDS action at Citi Field, and they've hit 2 home runs in 268 at bats. That's crazy. And then against Cal Quantrill last night, they hit 3 home runs in their first 6 at bats. Like, I know that's baseball, but I mean, come on. If flyouts to the warning track and 326-foot fly balls got it done at Citi Field, the Phillies would be incredible. I've never seen a team hit so many warning track fly balls as the Phillies do in that stadium. It's genuinely insane.
We were laughing about it up there. Like Scott Lauber and I were sitting there like,
it's like they're playing with a weighted ball up there.
It's like, of course it was caught at the wall. Of course it was caught on the warning track. Like, it's unbelievable how different it is. Like, and then, we're looking up the stats like, oh, that ball would have been out of this many ballparks or whatever. Like, it's just weird how that stuff happens. And look, I look at that series and I break it down in three ways, right? And Rob said he was really disappointed with the first game. And I get it. Like, there was the defensive lapses in the first game.
Opportunities to bury them.
Opportunities to kill.
Was a microcosm of the greater playoff picture. Like, you have them right where you want them, and then you let them right back into it.
Yeah, you let them off the hook. The second game I thought was a really good game. In all honesty, like, I mean, there was some umpire.
That game did not bother me.
There were some umpire challenges that were an issue, but other than that, like, I thought that the game itself was a really well played game. I was most annoyed with the third game because the offense just lost two games. They just didn't show up. And I know, look, Nolan McLean is really good pitching prospect. Really good pitching prospect, right? But I'll tell you, having been up there, it was like, you listen to talk radio in New York, and it's like every caller, it sounds like they're from the Jerky Boys, and they got the reincarnation of Tom Seaver after 3 starts. Like, I don't necessarily know if you go that far. We've seen it before.
Did you see the Giglio? I'm sure you did. The Giglio tweet, from his show earlier in the week, where it was like the division's over prior to the Mets series.
No, but I heard him say it on the radio, so I didn't see the tweet. But
so right away that the Phillies are going to lose that series, and like that's going to be like an instantly a freezing take, right? Like after things go down. I believe, Evan Roberts. This is like the reverse of that. So after the McLean start, what if McLean is so dominant in less than 50 innings pitched this season, he wins Rookie of the Year and he keeps his rookie status for next year? Could he win it in back-to-back seasons? And I'm like, okay, there you go. Mets are going to lose tonight. They're probably going to lose 5 of their next 7. This kid's going to get pummeled the next time he takes the ball. Like, it's the hex, like the instant sports talk radio hex.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff drives me crazy, but yeah, like, look, there was a lot to be mad about with what happened in New York.
I thought they absolutely laid down in the finale. Like, you could have just simulated that game after the second inning. It's like, we don't even need to be here. That's the way that they acted. And I know that in football, you can watch a team rally to the ball. You can watch effort. You can watch them finish tackles, finish runs.
Yep.
You can see if they're dialed in, not committing penalties. And like, that's the sign of a focused team. In baseball, it's harder to see when you're not hitting, because you can be super focused and super dialed in and trying your ass off and just not get the results. And so I can't sit here and say that they slept walk through the game because they didn't produce offensively, but it sure felt like it. It sure felt like a dial tone type of game from that team, like a team that knew that they weren't going to win. And Taijuan Walker wasn't great, wasn't very good. He didn't really, I would say, give them much of a chance, but they didn't give themselves much of a chance beyond Taijuan Walker in that game. So when you bookend that, like you said, I thought Tuesday was a well-played game. They come back late, the Bader home run. It doesn't concern me as much. The contact off of Duran is weird. And, I tweeted it out and I said, it's just strange because we talked about this on the show. I brought this up Monday. The amount of contact that opponents seem to get on him, though it's not quality contact most often, it is perplexing. When you see him snap 86 and then you see him snap 102, 103, 104, you would expect that K rate to be 13, 14 per 9, not 9.5 per 9. And that's okay. Like, you can be effective late in games by inducing poor contact, but it's burned him a little bit lately. I want to ask you this, and I understand why people are saying it. I just pointed out the lack of power up there. It's such a deviation from their normal output. Is there anything and Jason Stark, I mean, it's not like you have to have a tinfoil hat on to be here. I mean, Jason Stark is one of the most well-respected baseball writers of the past 50 years.
In the Hall of Fame.
He goes on the radio this week and says the Mets have tells on the Phillies. It's not just about them being hot or the Phillies being cold. The Mets don't seemingly have tells on anybody else. in the sport because the Mets blow. But what do you think? I mean, I don't want to say like, do you agree with Jason, but like, you think there's something to that? And like, what do you make of it? And if you're the Phillies, like, figure it the fuck out.
And Bryce kind of put this out before Jason did, like, because the night that they lose 13-3, Sanchez had his worst outing of any game in that game, and Bryce afterwards says he might have been tipping. And of course, we're all kind of like rolling our eyes, like, here we go again.
Because every time something goes wrong with Phillies pitching this year, it feels like, that's the thing that comes up.
That's the reason they're tipping, right?
Rangers tipping, Chris is tipping, Jesus
Luzardo.
is tipping.
Yeah. But then he's like, no, guys. He's like, he talked about their first base coach. So, the first base coach for the Mets used to work for Gabe with the Giants. Now, you remember
my guy.
You remember when Gabe was a manager here, he was always looking for all those every little edge on the margins that you can, right? Like every little thing you can do, he was looking for that advantage. And so Bryce played for Gabe. So Bryce knows Gabe. Bryce knows what his mentality is. They brings that guy in to be it's Antoine, is it Richardson's his last name, I think? Whatever it is. I forget what his name is. His first base coach for the Mets. He was in San Francisco. The Mets play San Francisco earlier this year, and all of a sudden they start running like crazy on Logan Webb. And Logan Webb, after the game, talks about how the first base coach had tells on him because this is what he used to do in San Francisco, right? This is what he was like brought in to do. And so now the Mets have it for all the Phillies pitchers ever since that they have this guy. Now, let's be honest. I don't believe he was their first base coach last year, right? If I'm not mistaken, he was with the Giants through 24, and he went to the Mets this year. Yeah. So anything that they did, Jason's comments about, this is what they did against the Mets in the playoffs last year, Jeff Hoffman and whatever. But, well, that guy wasn't there. That didn't mean the Mets weren't looking for tells. They probably were. Every team in baseball does this. But the way I look at it, Bob, is if you're tipping that much, if you're telling that much, it's like being a bad poker player. Figure it out, man. Figure it out. Make sure that you do something different. Change it up every inning.
Probably also plays, though, if that's in your head, you talk about that team looking a little bit spooked. I mean, they may feel like that they're coming in at a disadvantage. You start thinking about it. Well, they know they have something. What am I doing? And you stop playing the game the way that you play it, and you probably start paying attention to it. But as a team, you have to regroup, and you have to, by the time you see these guys again, say, all right, are we buttoned up here? Like, do we feel like that, we were able to identify something and we're no longer doing it? And are we vulnerable to showing it again? I mean, come on. I have a hard time when you see a team play that poorly and then all of this stuff starts coming out around it. You go, come on with this. Yeah. I don't have like the tolerance for it. And, so I started thinking about this a little bit, and obviously the show today is a little bit different than it would have been yesterday. But I think what agitates me so much about all of this is that I felt like it was predictable last night. I felt like it was clear that they were going to come out and kind of run away from the Braves. Like, I was not surprised. I was surprised that Nola struggled in the first inning the way he did, which we need to talk about. But so much so that I wish we had the technology to give you the screenshot of our exchange last night at, let's see here, 7:14. I said, well, I'm not going to read what I said to start the conversation, but I'll paraphrase it. I said, you're going to love me tomorrow on this show. I said, we're going to really probably be very different in terms of how we come to the show. And then I followed up after Nola's first inning. 37 pitches is comical. 37 pitches, mind you, and the Braves were like, here you go, get out of the inning for free. I said they can win 19-3 tonight. This is a 7:14 p.m., by the way. They can win 19-3 tonight, and I'm going to fucking crush them tomorrow, is what I said to you. And then 3 hours later, it's 19-4. So, I just a couple things.
It's unbelievable to me. Like, Bob, I like of all the crazy texts that you've sent and immediately something happened that was related to that text.
Yeah.
That might be the most unbelievable one of them all.
I think I sent the text after Schwarber homered, or like got them right back in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it was once the game was tied. Maybe it was Real Muto homered. Like, I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure it was after Real Muto's homer.
Yeah.
Because I had sent a text back to you like, here you go, look, they're coming right back, and you're like, oh yeah, Phillies baseball, woohoo! And then you're like, I don't care if it's 19-4, if they win a game 19-3, I'm still killing them. And then they went ahead and scored 16 more runs. Like, that's unbelievable that you called that.
Well, so here's what I'm like fighting with. Like, so I've had some tweets, like I've gotten caught up in the moment this week a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I've gotten some pushback. Generally speaking, when I tweet, people like don't argue with me because like my tweets are like more like data statty, like they're not takey. I've gotten a little takey this week, I admit it. But I'm surprised, I think. Like, first of all, I tweeted, and I stand by this, something to the effect of, if the Phillies played this team another 7 games, the Mets would, at Citi Field, I'm pretty sure the Mets would be in first place by the end of it. Like, the numbers are the numbers. Like, I don't think that's an outrageous tweet. If the Phillies had to play another 5 games there through next week, they might win one of them. Seriously. Like, I don't think I wouldn't bet the Phillies on any individual game to win any of them. They would probably eventually trip into one, but I don't think that that's an outrageous tweet. And people are like, oh yeah, you're overreacting. You're getting swept up in the moment. I'm like, I don't know. Last night they go down 3-0. I tweet, like I knew, and we talked, this was one of the first shows we did this season. It's going to be hard to get buy-in from fans this year, like truly believe in the Phillies, and everything is going to be overanalyzed and scrutinized. And that is the case. That is exactly what has happened. They are up, in real time, 4 games in the division when I send this tweet. And they're in first place. They're probably going to win the division. They've been okay for the last 3 months. It's not like they've been horrible. They came into the night 5 games over since June 1. It's not terrible. It's okay. It's pretty good. But like, I don't feel the buy-in. Like, did I get caught up in like angry Twitter this week? Did I get caught up in WIP land this week? Like, I don't think that the majority of Phillies fans believe that this team is going to win it, or like really should win it. I think a lot of people are frustrated that like their deficiencies are still their deficiencies. I think a lot of people are frustrated they didn't do more in the offseason. Am I misreading it? Because then I get a response back from the guy who runs that like Phillies Bell account, who I appreciate because he like retweets our show sometimes and stuff and is, whatever. But he's like, well, 40,000 fans per night would disagree with you, and the tens of thousands that listen to the radio and TV. And I'm like, I've gone to games this year, and I don't believe this team's going to win the World Series. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. So I guess what he's trying to say there is that the noise that you hear still is the minority of people.
But it's easy to say it when your team's like, ooh, boom, home run, Cal Quantrill.
No. But like, here's
not saying him specifically, but a lot of people that were like, the boys are back. How do you doubt on the Phils?
No. I don't think
on Tuesday night we're like, I can't watch this anymore.
They could have got shut out last night. I'd say the same thing, right? Like I'd say the same thing. I think the Twitter, social media is an echo chamber, and sports talk radio there's the 10% of the people that listen to the show, not even 10, probably less than that now, because they have the same freaking people on all day long, calling 5 times a day. But it used to be, when I worked there years ago, about 10% of the people who listened to the show called in.
Yeah.
Right. Like overall, it's obviously a small percentage per show. Yeah. It's like 10 people call in. Right. No. So yeah. So like that. So there is that large silent majority who are still very supportive of the team, still believe in or have hope in the team and belief in the team.
And hope and go to the games and watch and care.
Yeah. And think that they're still not, and they're not going to win. Of course you could be that,
and not just because like mathematically they're not supposed to. I think that there are a lot of people that are very frustrated, appreciative of a first place team, and like Kevin Kincaid. Let me summon my inner Kevin Kincaid. Like two
Yeah.
things can be true. Like, well, like go back to 2015 when the team was dog shit. You should be thankful for like, yeah, I guess. Like you can be thankful that a team is 5 games, has a 5-game lead in the division and has a crack at winning a World Series, and also very frustrated that the same deficiencies and same problems keep showing themselves. Like, you know,
I'm with Amy on this. I can tolerate Phillies Twitter way more than Flyers Twitter. Yes,
I don't know. At least I'm not familiar with the Flyers Twitter game, but
at least Phillies Twitter people know the game.
Yeah,
and I shouldn't say not everybody on Flyers Twitter is that bad, but a lot of them are. But here's the thing with Phillies Twitter. So I'll give you an example. Last night, I'm not tweeting really yet. I just finished writing a story. Just kind of I'm sitting there, eating my little cup of ice cream from Frankie Two Scoops, as the game's starting, and they give up the 3 runs in the first inning, whatever. I'm not even on my computer. And the bottom of first, Schwarber comes up first at bat, hits a solo home run. Okay. I said Kyle Schwarber breaks his 0 for 20 streak with his 46th home run, or whatever my tweet. It was something very generic like that, right? It was a stat-driven thing. Like he was 0 for 20, hadn't got a hit in a week, and he just hit a home run. Okay, great. You know what the responses I got were? Way to gloss over Nola giving up 3 runs in the first inning. Like it had nothing. One has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah.
But that was the response that I was getting, right? And it was like, okay, so there we go. So that's kind of what you're talking about. That's what exists out there. Like,
yeah, maybe I'm deflecting my own beliefs and what I'm seeing in my own circle and saying like, well, people, but like I have friends that are very big time Phillies fans, and they're, I would say, on the intelligent side. And I think that they're very much like existing in my headspace right now, which is like, this team is going to win the division. I think that there's probably going to come a time where 3 straight games happen where they don't hit and get eliminated. And we're going to be sitting here this winter going, well, this has been a largely good 4 years that has been bitterly disappointing at the end. And now, oh, by the way, their DH, who's going to hit 59 home runs this year, might not be back next season. And their best pitcher has to overcome a pretty significant health concern to be back. And what are they going to do with like, that's where I think is going to happen. And I want them to win. I'm invested in them. I watch it. We're doing a show about it. I used to cover it. Like I couldn't be more in terms of time investment, but I don't believe this team is going to win a World Series. And 19-4 last night does nothing to change my mind.
No, and I'm with you. I don't think they're going to win the World Series either.
And if they swept the Mets, I would have gotten on here today. I'm like, damn, they showed something this week, right? But I also wouldn't have been like, now I believe they're going to win the World Series.
Right, exactly. I don't think anybody's position on the team changed this week, whether one way or the other. Like even if, and like you said, even if they went out and swept the Mets, I don't think the two of us are coming on here saying print the World Series ticket.
It would have been Holly Jolly though. It would have been like, wow, that was what you wanted to see. This team, sure. Are they turning a corner? Is it different? Like that would be the conversation.
Sure, the conversation would be different, but I don't necessarily think
I'd still arrive at the same point. It would just be in a more positive manner.
Yeah, exactly. I've said all along, I think the team's good enough to get to the National League Championship Series. I don't think they're getting past it. That's all there is to it. Like, I just think that's where it runs out this year. And that's fine. Like I mean, it's fine in the sense of that's kind of what we think they are. That's what we kind of know that they are, and we see that they are, and we think it's going to end the same in a very similar fashion. And that's okay. That's how we view it. But I understand the frustration because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win the championship, and it feels like they have stuck with the same group for too long and didn't make enough changes to get past that point. And that's where the frustration lies. But to take that, I have my biggest problem is taking it out game by game that way.
Yeah.
Like I hate that more than anything else because you cannot do that in baseball.
What I'm trying to figure out, let's look at last night, for instance. Like, forget the Mets for a second. This is about what happens 4 or 5 weeks from now, right?
Yeah.
And Schwarber hits 4 home runs. Awesome. Real Muto has a couple decent at bats. Everybody's hitting 20 hits as a team. Bryce pops one, a majestic home run. Max Kepler. Well, I actually want to talk about that now. I want to talk about the Castellanos thing because like we're in our feelings today. This is like a how do you feel kind of show right now. It's not really data driven. It's not about what's happening on the field in terms of like, what's going on in right field I want to get to. But I'm now going to open the door to that conversation. Aaron Nola last night.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to feel about Aaron Nola in his third start back from injury? Because he was bad in the first inning. He was really bad. There is a chance that if the Braves don't run themselves out of that inning, that not only do they score a fourth or possibly fifth run, but that Nola is not back in the game after the first because his pitch count, because you know this, like if he ends up at 45 pitches in the first inning, there's a very good chance that they're like, we cannot afford to push him here, and he's out of the game. And then what's the conversation this morning? Now, to his credit, or to the Braves' credit, or some combination of the two, he gets out of the first inning, 37 pitches, and he comes back and he only allows one more hit and one more walk over the next
5 innings.
5 innings. So he gets through 6, only allows 4 hits, 3 earned runs, strikes out 4, walks 3. You know whose line that sounds like? It sounds like Taijuan Walker's line. That's a Taijuan Walker start. Well, he was horrible early and he did enough to keep him in the game. Mind you, they also scored, almost 3 touchdowns. I don't know how to feel about Aaron Nola after last night. And I'm trying to think about things that matter for October. He wasn't awful last night. He wasn't a bum. He doesn't suck. But, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bad start. There's no question. The first inning, you can't have that lack of command, right? I mean, the bigger problem in the first inning wasn't the fact that he gave up 3 runs or threw 30. So it was he couldn't command anything. Like he walked 2 guys in the first inning. Walks kill you as for a starting pitcher.
And he missed. There were a couple borderlines. I think it was Olsen. He missed in, and it was a strike. And then he went away and was off the plate by a half an inch and doesn't get it. Well, one of them's got to be a strike, right? So I know again he got squeezed, but you just got to be sharper than that.
You're right. You do. You do have to be sharper than that. And I asked him about it afterwards. I said, "Do you feel like?" As rough as that first inning was for you, that having that long time on the bench, because the Phillies put up 5 runs in the bottom of the first, like that allowed him to kind of refocus, relax, whatever. And he said, yeah, it certainly helped. And then, he was able to kind of think about what was working, what wasn't working, what he had to do to get the fastball down again. He felt, look, there's something to be said for feeling good about the fact that now all of a sudden the fastball touched 95 last night. When was the last time Aaron Nola threw 95 in a game? Right? I mean, so he's healthy. So if you want to
maxed it 94.6. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I have this in front of me. It was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm like, so where's the positives? Because I didn't think overall it was a great start. I appreciate that he settled down. And I think with Nola right now, any positive momentum you can find start to start is good for him, considering where he was prior to the injury.
Correct.
So, this is just so you're aware. Like my trajectory here isn't Aaron Nola stinks. We're not doing that today. Like that's not where I'm coming from. But I'm like, I need to see you. I need Aaron Nola by the end of next month to make me feel like that on merit he should start one of those first 3 playoff games. That's where we have to get to. And it's not going to happen in just one start. It's got to build, and that's where this needs to land. So I see last night, 94.6 he tops out at. He averages 92.7 on the 4-seam, threw it 52 times. That's up over a mile per hour in the season average. The sinker maxed at 93.4. He only threw it like 10 times, but that again is up almost 1.5 miles per hour over a season average. Like that's positive. He needs that, as you've pointed out several times, that gap in velocity to make it work against a changeup. And if we can get that, then you might have something.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of what they're working to. Like the most important thing is that his arm is healthy right now. Like it's because he couldn't throw for a while, and with the ankle and then the rib injury, he was kind of down for a little bit. And so it could technically be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for the Phillies that you get a healthier Aaron Nola in October than you ever could have possibly hoped to have. That said, there are still some things that are happening in his starts that give you pause. And Still give up a solo home run last night
There's
to
just
Matt
always
Olson.
like this. There's always something,
Yeah.
There's always a but. It feels like lately with
Yeah.
him, and that's the concern.
Yeah, but you know what? If Aaron Nola in the playoffs is going to give you 5 innings and give up 2 to 3 runs, you're taking it, man. At this point, without Wheeler,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that,
and you should be able to survive that so long as you're not playing at
right?
Citi Field.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think Aaron Nola's next start is going to be a really good tell because it's against Milwaukee, right? So it's against a really good team. It's the first time he's really going to face a good team. Look, the Braves, there's some familiarity there, right? They know him.
Well, the thing I will say about the Braves, I believe that they're a game under 500 since the break now.
Yeah.
Which is not great, but it's not horrible. They've had a ton of injuries, and a lot of these guys that were dogs for them, and I don't say that in a positive way, but dogs for them early in the year, underperformers, have gotten going here a little bit now.
Yeah.
Albies has come in hot.
Michael Harris.
Harris has redeemed himself, or sort of resurrected his season. Olsen is still a guy that I have a lot of respect for, but just can't quite seem to get that gear this season.
Yeah.
But like there's some things going there. I mean, I like the catcher a lot. He can swing it.
Yeah, Drake Baldwin, yeah.
So this is not like some dog shit lineup that you expect to just go mow
Right.
down. I mean, they're scoring runs lately too.
Yeah. So like, I mean, there is a little bit of that, but I think that the next start against Milwaukee will be a little bit more of an indicator for what he needs to do the rest of September and going to get ready for the playoffs, and if he can even be one of the candidates to start one of those 3 games. I still think that's what they want. I think that I will go to the end of the earth to say the Phillies want Aaron Nola to start one of those first 3 games in the playoffs.
I certainly align with you there.
But he needs to show that he can and be reliable enough to be handed the ball as opposed to giving it to a Jesus Luzardo in that spot.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about the outfield, and it's not all bad. Not too often this season where you and I talk about the outfield collectively and not go like, well, this has been horrible. And I know that Brandon Marsh had cooled off a little bit and everything. I have 2 things that I'm about to say, and in this moment, I feel pretty good about it. One, I think that Harrison Bader should play center field every day for this team. He's your best defender at the major league level. He is hitting. He's certainly over his last 7 games. He's hitting over 500. I think over his last 15, he's north of like 350. I just think he's the most complete, consistent option. I like the energy. I just think that he's the guy in center field. I'd be pissed if you got into a playoff series and they started to try to mix and match around him in the postseason. Let him play center field. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I wrote it last week. Like I or this week, I shouldn't say last week. I talked to him on Monday before the first game in New York, and I really started to get a sense that was where the Phillies were headed with this, is that Bader was going to be an everyday guy. And he's not disappointed. Like he's been really good. It
started a little slowly, but in 22 games here now, he's hitting .313 with a .397 on base percentage, slugging .493. It's an .890 OPS. I mean, he had a .778 OPS with Minnesota. This has been a good trade for them so far. I mean, it's kind of come in bunches here lately, but I just think that this is your guy right now. I'm not saying that he's an all-star, but I think he's their best option.
1 month. Tomorrow will be one, or I guess I'm sorry. Sunday will be 1 month from the trade deadline. Anybody else had a better trade deadline than the Phillies at this point?
No, I was actually going to give you a hot take though and tell you that Bader has been a better addition than Duran so far.
Ooh. Well, he's certainly giving you more productivity, right? I mean, than Duran.
You good with you have any Duran conspiracies? Like he got hit on the foot against whoever it was, and that's why he's ruined all of a sudden? Or you good here?
I'm
not concerned about him, to be honest with you. If I see another 2 games where he gets peppered to death and they're hitting him where they're not and all that, then I might say like, what's going on here? But right now, I'm like not even like close to that.
No, look, I give the Mets credit for what they did to him for those 4 singles. I thought that the one. Maybe Marsh could have gotten a better jump on it and catches that ball. It kind of changes the dynamics. So then that's the 4th hit the infield's in. That would have been an easy ground ball to short. That would have been a double.
Still a lot of
tailor-made
people
double
complaining
play.
about the Phillies alignment late in games. Their defensive
My
alignment.
son's been saying this. My Anthony's been texting me about it. It's like his thing. He's going nuts about.
Yeah.
Like, why are they positioned the way they're positioned?
We talked already about the blown save to the Nationals last week, getting down the line, and statistically speaking, that was an anomaly, and I'm okay with that. But it's been like Turner up the middle a couple times where it's like, what are they doing with the shortstop here?
Yeah, and I also saw it with Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo beat Bryson Stott to the hole a few times, and because Bryson's playing him more up the middle, and he's pulling it through that big hole between first and second, I'm like, it's a left-hand hitter, and you're playing him up the middle. Like, you don't think he can pull the ball, and he just kept doing it, and it's like that's something's not right with the defensive alignment if a hitter beats you repeatedly with that way. Yeah. But no, I understand why you think Bader's been the better addition.
I know that's a hot take. Like, I don't even know if I mean that, but like, you can. If I was compelled enough, I could make the argument that
you can certainly make the argument. But my question was, like, really look at all the trades that happen around baseball. What team has gotten more out of their trade deadline acquisitions than the Phillies right now?
Yeah, fair.
Right, I don't think that there is one. I mean, you could argue the Padres. They've gotten a little bit out of those guys, right? That's been, but he went balls to the wall to get all those players. I don't think anybody else has even come close.
There were two. I'm sorry. You're right. I mean, I agree. There's, I think, two things that kind of annoy. Like, I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. You bring up the Duran inning on Tuesday night, and I agree with you. Like, that was a well-played game overall. I don't have like a huge issue with that. But like, if you were to like just focus on this one game and say like this was your season, you get to that ninth inning, and it's Diaz in his second inning.
Yeah,
he blows the doors off a 2-3-4, and then here comes Duran against this Mets lineup, and it's good approaches, contact, game over, and you're like, come on, guys. And like, that is part of the reason why it's not just the 3 games and the lack of productivity at Citi Field, but it's like moments like that where you're like, I need something more in that moment situationally. And then you come home and you get this. I mean, Cal Quantrill sucks, right? Like, he stinks. And then you blow his doors off and you're like, yay, great. It looks good. But like, come on. Like, I need you to compete against Diaz in the ninth inning there. And that was what, to me, was most agitating about that particular game, more so than what happened in the bottom of the ninth against Duran.
I agree with you. I thought Trey Turner's at bat to end the top of the 8th with Bryson Stott on third was a disappointing at bat. And then I thought Schwarber, Harper, Real Muto against Diaz were pretty sad. Although Schwarber did have one ball, he hit it foul, but he hit it to the last row of the second deck. At Citi Field, but it was about 20 feet foul.
Is it fair? So then go to like Wednesday real quick. This is the other thing I sort of omitted in our dissection of that series. This McClain kid comes up, he destroys the Phillies lineup on Wednesday night. And then you see that they're bringing up their top pitching prospect tonight to make his major league debut. And this all happens while Taijuan Walker is, and again, kudos to Taijuan Walker. This isn't like a negative anti-Taijuan Walker thing, but like, you got Taijuan Walker out there, and your prize pitching prospect, who is untouchable and the greatest thing since Justin Verlander, is down in AAA. And like, the Mets are like, here are these 2 young studs coming up as we're sweeping you. And I would much rather be the Phillies than the Mets overall. I'd much rather probably have Andrew Painter than either of these 2 guys. But it's just annoying. It's annoying, dude.
But here's the difference, Bob, and this is why I'll try and make you feel a little bit better about it. The Mets had no other choice but to turn to these kids because their starting rotation.
Which is why I say I'd rather be the Phillies right now.
Was a disaster. Where the Phillies had the ability to be a little bit more patient with Andrew Painter because they have guys at the major league level who can pitch games. And I think that's the difference. So, you should make you feel a little bit better in that regard. I understand it. And we'll see what Jonah Tong does tonight. Actually curious about that game because Yuri Perez has been pitching really well for the Marlins too. He's going for them. So it's going to be an interesting match. I think the Marlins view this as an important series for them. And I'm not sure why. Like, they're not in the race or anything like that, but I think that they are looking at it like as a as a benchmark series for them. It's going to be interesting.
Well,
So,
what is that tonight? The probable pitchers there. That is.
I said Yuri Perez, Joe Natang, right?
Okay, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
that's. It is cool when you get the dual screens going. Like I was there last night. I was out late. My wife and I grabbed a late dinner, and they had MLB Network on in the end of the Phillies game, and they had Marlins, Mets, Phillies, Braves. I was like, this is awesome. Like,
yeah.
You're looking at two things at once reacting. It's like that's why I love this time of year more than I don't get crazy about the scoreboard early, but right now it's starting to get fun. The other thing I guess I want to talk a little bit about, I feel like we need to talk about Schwarber. Like
we have to talk about Schwarber.
All right, let's do Schwarber first, and then we'll kind of end on like more of a type of thing. So, I mean, 21 guys ever, 4 home runs in a game, and you kind of felt like you might hit 5 at the end last night, given the situation.
So I'll throw one other little detail in, right? So, yes, he was the 21st player to hit 4 home runs in a game. When he stepped to the plate in the bottom of the 8th for a shot at the 5th home run, he's only the 3rd player ever to even have a chance at that.
I was wondering that. I was actually going to ask if you knew that. Yeah.
I looked it up. I went through every one of the 21 games to see if anybody had it. The 2 previous were Lou Gehrig in 1932. He hit a sacrifice fly to center field. And Mike Cameron for the Chicago White Sox, 2002, flew out to right field when he had a chance at a 5th home run. That's it. Kyle
Schwarber weren't against position players, I'm assuming, or somebody 49 miles an hour.
Yeah, I know. So Kyle Schwarber, and it's funny, Chris Fried brings this up. He says no other team has more 4 home run players than the Phillies, who have 4. Yeah. Ed Delahanty, Chuck Klein, Mike Schmidt, and now Kyle Schwarber. And the interesting thing is Chuck Klein and Mike Schmidt's 4th home run came in the 10th inning. So that means the only 2 who did it in 9 innings were Ed Delahanty and Kyle Schwarber. Ed Delahanty did it at a ballpark that had a 560-foot center field. 2 of his home runs were inside the park, and they came in a loss. So really, the only Philly player to hit 4 home runs in a game, where all 4 were out of the ballpark in 9 innings and a win, is Kyle Schwarber.
How about it? I was interested to see that last night. Is this correct? Did I see this correctly? That it was only the 4th time ever that the Phillies hit 7 home runs in a game as a team.
Yes, that's correct.
It's like light to me. Like not only an amount of times that it's been done, but if you had asked me prior to yesterday, have the Phillies as a team ever hit 8 home runs in a game, I would have said yes.
Yeah, and the answer is no. So the previous 3 where they did it at Veterans Stadium against the Mets in 1998.
Yeah, and then they did it in 21. Is that right?
They did it in 2018 and 2021, both times in Cincinnati against the Reds. Yeah.
How about that?
So yeah, this would be the 4th time that they hit 7 home runs in a game.
So on Schwarber, obviously 0 for 11 against the Mets. Look,
0 for 20. Period.
Yeah, you go back to the prior series against the Mets. It's just hard when you look at the body of work and what he's done this season to be critical of Kyle Schwarber. And so I'm not going to be, but like, if we're going to sit here and talk about the Phillies and not getting it done in New York and having to be better against this team, like, he's part of that. He's a big part of that. He wasn't good enough this week. Now you look today, he's trailing Cal Raleigh by 1 home run. Now he's right on him for the major league lead. And as much as his season's been publicized, he's on pace for 114 runs scored, 59 home runs, 144 runs batted in, 106 walks, and he has a 956 OPS in this moment. He's not going to win MVP.
There's some chatter now. There's some chatter now that he might, and I think that the 4-homer game kind of changes things a little bit, Bob.
There was a 5 home run. How about a 5 home run game that puts him at 50 on the nose in one night?
Right? That would have been something else, right?
It would have been hard to ignore that. Something that's never been done before.
Yeah, no. Ken Rosenthal wrote an article in The Athletic today, and basically the headline is, if Schwarber and Raleigh prevail as MVPs over Ohtani and Judge, voter fatigue shouldn't be why. So basically, I mean, I guess that there's a thought that people are they don't want to vote for Judge and Ohtani because they vote for Judge and Ohtani every year. But Rosenthal's making the argument that Cal Raleigh and Kyle Schwarber actually deserve
Well,
your
Schwarber
MVP vote
has
this
kind
year.
of like come back into the picture where it's not laughable now. We've talked about the movement and the odds here, and Shohei Ohtani right now at DraftKings is minus 1,000, which is obviously still a significant favorite.
Yeah.
But Kyle Schwarber is up to plus 500. He's also separated himself from those other players like Machado and Pete Crow Armstrong and Juan Soto and Kyle Tucker. Like it's a two-man show here now. And it's not, Ohtani's minus 4,000 and Schwarber's plus 15. Like these numbers are starting to come together. I think if Schwarber gets to 60 and can do it within still being a productive player and not just a one-trick pony, then you might have something here. But if he knocks in 150 runs, and if Kyle, I think that the counting numbers more than other things do matter here. He keeps his average where it's at right now, continues to walk, clears that threshold, gets to 60 home runs and 150 runs batted in. I think then all of a sudden it's really hard to ignore it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Ohtani, the thing I will say against Ohtani, because I believe he'll win it, the thing I think he has not been yes, I agree that he pitches, he's more valuable in that way in theory, but Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher this season hasn't been some great value add for the Dodgers.
Right.
So I don't really care in this particular year that he pitches. It does not matter.
Let me throw some at you, Bob. When you looked at the schedule, and you saw the Phillies wrap up their season this year with 6 home games against the Marlins and the Twins. It didn't really excite, right? There was there's not going to be a lot of juice for those games at the end of the year. Yeah, there might be it might mean something to the Phillies, right? As far as where they finish in the division or to finish in the National League standings, whatever. And still may. I mean, this thing against the Dodgers could go down to the wire and games could matter in that regard. But the matchups didn't really excite you.
Right.
But if we're adding in a 60 home run chase into those 6 games, that ballpark could be electric.
Oh, it'd be awesome
for those games, right?
I mean, there's a very real chance. I mean, we'll see. I fear that this past week might have done a lot of damage in terms of securing a bye, but let's just say next month there's a world where they are trying to hold down a bye and he's going after 60 home runs. I mean, those games are going to be awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere especially if he's going after 60 and can do it, I would expect people to show up because, that time of year can be a little, you get the Eagles going, school's back in, the attendance can dip a little bit. So you're right. Sure. One other thing I want to talk about, not so much about Max Kepler in particular, who, homered last night and all, and he's been better.
Yeah.
Nick Castellanos sat on August 16th at Washington. He sat 820, which I believe was the finale against the Mariners, the day game.
Yeah.
He played all 3 against Washington after that last weekend. He went 5 for 11. But he doesn't play Monday against the Mets, and he doesn't play last night against the Braves. He went 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts against the Mets in those 2 games. We're in full-on platoon land here now, right? We're not.
No, it's still a rotation. So if you look at how it goes, they're basically playing 2/3 of the games each. Those 3 guys. It looks like Bader's going to be the regular, and it looks like it's going to be between Marsh, Kepler, and Castellanos.
Do you think that's the way they ought to do it? And is it about production or is it about political considerations? He over his last 7 games, Castellanos 280. Okay. He's got 1 extra base hit in those 7 games. Nick Castellanos' backstretch, 1 extra base hit. He has 4 extra base hits this month and 81 at bats.
Few walks in the last game. He's taking some pitches.
So no, what it is, man. I'm more convinced than ever. I've sort of thought it was possible that he wasn't going to be back. He's not going to be back next year.
No, there's no way. There's no way he's back next year. But what I will tell you is that it has, for the most part, worked this rotation.
Yeah.
That's not a platoon.
Yeah.
Brandon Marsh has struggled. But aside from that, this past week, Castellanos has been okay. Kepler's been better. Bader's been really good. So, and I asked Rob, the funny thing was, I asked Rob, I said, with this rotation, are you looking for 3 guys to kind of emerge as the 3 that you would want to use going into the playoffs? He says, I want 5 guys to get hot. So,
yeah,
he wouldn't say it, but I mean, that's kind of what it really is that he wants players to earn their time. And right now, the only one who has completely earned their time is Bader, because you can't play Kepler against or Marsh against lefties. You really can't in the starting lineup, at least. I mean, they can get at bats against a lefty reliever if they're like yesterday where the Phillies had a big lead, he wasn't going to pull them out. Hey, take your swings against lefties. So you can't start them against lefties. So your Castellanos is going to play against lefties. Weston Wilson's going to play against lefties. Harrison Bader. That's a given. It's against the right-handers where the debate is happening. And I think right now it's 3 for 2, and it's those 3 guys, and you're going to get every third game off until somebody emerges. And I think that's what Rob's doing.
All right. Before we do one last thing, let's do the prediction thing here. Elder Suarez tonight.
Yeah.
Bryce Elder. I mean,
he's been terrible this year.
He stinks.
He's been terrible.
Christopher Sanchez versus TBD tomorrow night.
I think it's Chris Sale.
Oh, Sale's going to be back. Okay.
I think it's Chris Sale. They haven't officially announced it
because I mean they have Waldrop scheduled for Sunday, so that means they know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
All right. So Sale Sanchez, I would say, is a toss up.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
And then Waldrop Luzardo on Sunday, and Waldrop has been awesome.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time. And that's your remaining 3 games of this series before the Phillies have to go out, man. Like they are just not getting days off at all, man.
No.
They go out to Milwaukee on Monday. They do not play Tuesday. Okay. So what happens this weekend? This team, I feel like desperately needs to win 3 out of 4 in this series.
Well, I think they need to win 3 out of 4, and I think that they will win 3 out of 4. But that's incumbent upon them getting tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think you can lose tonight's game and then expect to win the last 2, because if you're getting Sale and Waldrop, I think that you're looking at that's a split of those 2. And so, I think you need to get this one.
What's the deal with Waldrop? Is he legit prospect coming through, showing you what's up? Is he on the McLean path, or what is?
Yeah, I mean, he's just another one of those Braves pitchers that they call up, and it's like, here's another young arm that they have and they develop, and they're pretty good, right?
Weird, right? They do that, but then they don't sustain. It's young, interesting guy comes up and then he gets hurt. It's
the injury. That's the problem is that they blow them out. You look at guys like this year, Schwellenbach and Smith Shawver and Strider last year, right? That was hurt and they struggled coming back from Tommy John. This is what they do. They have these young arms who are really talented, but then they all get hurt. So he's just next in that line of guys who comes up, and I'm not wishing injury upon him. I hope he doesn't get hurt, but that's kind of what you're looking at.
All right. Let's do one last thing and get out of here.
I just want to answer this question for David Waitman. He says, are either of you looking to go to Iowa for the Field of Dreams games? Also, if you go, will you walk through the cornfields? I would love to go. And if they gave the media the opportunity to do that, I'd do it. Would you?
I think the Field of Dreams game is cool.
Yeah.
And if I could get that type of access, I would consider it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, and I think I tweeted this a couple of years ago, I had not seen Field of Dreams until probably 2023 was the first time I had ever seen it. I'm a baseball movie guy, and I just never watched Field of Dreams. And, I have a son now.
Yeah.
My dad's still here. He's older. I guess I'm supposed to appreciate the father-son thing. And
can
I just say I didn't really love the movie.
Hokey. It's hokey.
It just wasn't for me. Here's
a hokey movie.
And I know people listening to this are going to be like, dude, really?
Yeah, it's not a baseball movie.
You also have to consider my age. But I grew up with The Rookie of the Year, The Sandlot. I even like Little Big League. I think Little Big League's super underrated. That's a fun baseball movie, where the kids ran through the twins and all. I would say there are probably 6 or 7 baseball movies that I would put ahead. I would put A League of Their Own ahead of Field of Dreams.
I love A League of Their Own. I love A League of Their Own.
And I think that is actually a good movie, like a movie person would say good movie. There are bad baseball movies that I would put in front of it, including some of the ones I just said. And I would even say I would go so far as to say Major League and Major League 2, I would put ahead of Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, it's a movie that baseball is the setting, but it's not really the story, right?
It's fine. Like I kind of was like, that was it. That was what everyone's so fired up about, this movie.
Yeah.
But the game is cool. I never want to see a baseball game played on a NASCAR infield ever again. Like, the Field of Dreams thing is cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But here's the one last thing, Bob. And we didn't get to this last week when it first kind of was, put onto our radar. And I wanted to get to because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. There's so much conversation about what Rob Manfred said. And I guess the reason that we didn't talk about it on Monday was because he talked about it like Sunday night, and all the stories came out Monday morning while we were recording about the potential for expansion and realignment in Major League Baseball. And there's been a lot of wild speculation out there, some from really good sources, some from not so many traditional sources. And it's all over the place as to how this would happen, what this realignment would look like. Would they obliterate American National League and go more conference-oriented like the NBA and the NHL do? How would that affect records? What would the divisions look like? I want to know what you're in favor of as far as realignment. Would you go with 8 4-team divisions? Would you go with 4 8-team divisions? Which is a little there's Jason Stark put out that the 162 game schedule may change, that they may cut it back to 156 or 154. There's a lot out there. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this and how it could impact baseball in your mind.
I feel like sports right now like more divisions. It just feels like that's the way things trend. I mean, I would like to see larger divisions, and you want to still bring in more playoff teams, fine. But I think I'd rather see 4 divisions of 8 teams apiece.
Me too.
I just think it gives you a truer feel of like the overall, how did the league really shape up?
Right.
In terms of the one thing I don't want to see them doing, not just because it would put the Phillies at a tough spot, but I don't want to see Mets, Phillies, Yankees, and Red Sox in the same division. And I just don't think.
How bad would that be?
I almost feel like it creates like an escape for other teams to like not compete at the same level in terms of finances. Like if I were a players association, I would be like, absolutely not. Like we're not going to do that. Now, I don't think that you ever break the Yankees and Red Sox apart. I just think, when you have that type of, I'm doing this under the presumption you're looking at 4-team divisions. I think it's more. See, like at the same time, like I don't want to be a homer and say like put them in the same division as the Pirates and Orioles and Mets, but like I think that that's realistic. Like I could see Mets and Phillies staying together with an Orioles or Nationals or Pirates mixed in. But I one thing I don't think, and I think it was Jim Bowden who put it out, that 4-team mega division. I don't see that. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it would be awful for the game because you would have 4 teams killing themselves at the top of the salary structure, and then you'd be putting a bunch of small market divisions together where they're like, yeah, well, we don't have to do that because
we don't have to do anything because we're in a division with the Rays, Marlins, and
right. Yeah, we could spend a third of what they're spending, and
Rays, Marlins, Pirates,
and still be in the same place in October. Like, no, you can't do it. I'm a believer in the 8-team divisions as well. I think that the thing that bothers me the most is in a 4-team division, only 23% of your games are being played in your division. What the hell are you playing a 162 game season for if 75% of your games are outside of your division? Like that's the thing that bothers me the most. That's why I like an 8-team division. And I know it doesn't make it as even. I wouldn't change the number of games. And I know that there's a thought of going, if we back it up to 156 or 154 even, so that it's the same number that used to be prior to expansion, that they could add playoff games. I don't mean by necessarily playoff teams, although that's a discussion too. There was a suggestion in Jason Stark's column that they might actually go to an 8-team playoff, which that's the dumbest thing in the world. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you're going to have a sub 500 team get in the playoffs.
Yeah, let's water this down even more.
Get to play the best team in a 3-game series in the first round and eliminate them in a situation like no, that should not happen. But I'm okay with expanding the playoffs. So you want to make the division series a best of 7 instead of a best of 5. I'm on board with that, right? Because again, that should, in essence, make the teams who were the best teams all year have a better chance. Because if you're playing 162 games, that's what it should be, right? So I'm okay with it, with that, I guess. But I'd rather keep it at 162. That's what we've had since 1962. It shouldn't change. Leave it be. Let's not screw around with that and screw around with history and statistics. Will we ever have a great home run race again if you start taking 6 to 8 games away? Like I don't think you would. So like keep it at 162. If you want to expand the playoffs to a best of 7, I'm fine with that. 8 divisions, I'm fine with. I don't mind expansion. But all this realignment and merging the American and National League teams together and 4-team divisions and 8 division playoff teams in each league, no, you're ruining the game. It's too much.
I'm totally with you on all of that. One other thing before we close up here, David Waitman, on Twitter tagged you and I in this and a couple others. Nick Castellanos against Bryce Elder, 4 for 8, 4 home runs, 7 runs batted in his career.
So he's going to be in the lineup tonight.
So you can expect to see Nick Castellanos in the lineup.
Well, all right, Rob said that too. Rob said it yesterday that he expects Castellanos, and then I expect Castellanos to play at least one of Saturday and Sunday as well. He'll probably play against Sale if it's Sale, and maybe he's out Sunday against Waldrop. But I think he's going to play at least 2 of the 3 for sure. All
right, very good. Well, get us out of here.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in to another edition of Fighting Words. Don't forget you can subscribe to Fighting Words on YouTube. Well, first of all, don't forget you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. But we like it best when you subscribe to it right here on YouTube. You can click the thumbs up, ring the bell. That way you get an alert every time Bob and I go live, and you don't miss a show every Monday and Friday, usually those 2 days. Sometimes it's a different day, but that way you get the alert, you know when it's happening. And if you're listening in the podcast feed and you want to find us on YouTube, where can you find us? It's at youtube.com/@fightingwords. So thanks everybody who tuned in today, who came in and joined us and made some comments. We will be back with you on Monday's holiday. So I don't know, Bob, what's your Monday situation? We'll figure that out.
I don't know. We can work it out. Maybe Monday. Okay. I think actually the closer we get towards the NFL season, the harder it is for me to do this. So yeah, Monday might be it.
Yeah, so probably do this on Monday, even though it's a holiday. So we'll figure out what time and do that. But you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend. Enjoy the last unofficial weekend of summer. And Bob and I will be back with you then. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.